On October 1, 2025, federal funding lapsed because the Senate failed to pass stopgap bills. That lapse triggered a government shutdown. Many discretionary programs must legally stop unless Congress acts. The result is immediate. Agencies implement contingency plans, and the country begins to run on emergency rules. Welcome back to Brains Behind Society, the channel where we uncover the hidden psychology, sociology, and politics shaping our world. If you're new here, hit subscribe. You don't want to miss the patterns behind the headlines. The real question isn't who voted, it's who keeps governing when Congress can't. When lawmakers walk away without funding the nation, the levers of power don't stop, they shift. Today, the hidden rules, the emergency regime, and the humans who get caught in the gears. Under the budget rules, most federal programs are funded by 12 annual appropriations bills. If Congress doesn't pass those or a continuing resolution, agencies lack the legal authority to spend. That's not a political metaphor, it's statutory. Without appropriations, the default is to stop discretionary spending. Congress created this cliff, and only Congress can authorize the climb down. This is where the invisible game begins. The lawmakers control the purse, legally. But when the purse closes, the executive branch must decide operationally which functions continue. Agencies rely on long-standing rules and OPM guidance to classify work as accepted or non-accepted. So while Congress creates the cliff, the executive branch decides who keeps working today. Not everyone stops. Air traffic controllers and TSA officers generally keep working, mostly labeled accepted, but they may not be paid until the lapse ends. National parks may stay open in a limited fashion, but visitor services collapse. Restrooms close and trash piles up. Contractors and many hourly workers get the worst of it. They often don't work and may not get retroactive pay. Some of the most consequential effects are subtle. Financial regulators like the SEC began furloughing huge shares of staff. Reuters reported the SEC would furlough over 90% of its workforce, leaving only tiny teams for emergency work, which can slow IPOs, stall approvals, and increase market volatility. Other independent agencies with separate funding, like the Fed or FDIC, are less affected, but the overall regulatory landscape thins dramatically. When Congress won't act, bureaucracies use several tools to keep mission-critical pieces running. 1. Classifying employees as accepted with retroactive pay rules. 2. Continuing obligations paid from multi-year appropriations or unobligated balances. 3. Relying on user fees in trust funds. And 4. Prioritizing national security and public safety functions. Agencies also issue guidance to managers about who to keep on the clock. These are not conspiracies, they're routine contingency mechanisms, but they concentrate choice in the hands of agency leaders and the executive. A shutdown is a pressure valve in American politics. It inflicts pain unevenly. Federal workers and local businesses feel it fast. Headline effects, delayed economic data, slowed permits, halted research programs ripple out. Sometimes friction escalates into broader breakdowns. 2018 to 2019's long shutdown caused airlines to warn of flight disruptions, and the delays in payroll led to worker callouts. That's why shutdowns often push lawmakers back to the negotiating table. The damage becomes visible, urgent, emotional. Politically, a shutdown is a gamble. Majorities think they can impose pain selectively to extract concessions. But history shows two hazards. First, blame is messy. Voters often punish the party they perceive as responsible. Second, unintended consequences, like airport chaos or benefits delays, can turn public anger against the instigators. The short-term win, forcing the other side to yield, can produce long-term reputational losses. Power therefore shifts, briefly, from legislators debating offerings to the executive and the bureaucracy managing fallout. Meet Maria, a concession worker at a national park who may lose shifts next week. Meet Darnell, a securities analyst who suddenly can't get approvals through the SEC pipeline and watches a postponed IPO he's worked on for months. These are hypothetical composites, but they stand for thousands, the human faces that make a shutdown more than a policy fight. Watch 3 things: whether key appropriations language gets attached to a continuing resolution, whether any agency runs out of unobligated funds and must halt critical services, and signs of market stress from regulatory thinness, delayed filings, halted approvals, or spikes in volatility. In short, the visible fights on the Hill are only the first act. The real drama unfolds in the agencies, courts, and streets. Democracy is not just elections and speeches, it's also the steady machinery of daily administration. When Congress blocks the budget, power doesn't vanish, it migrates. That migration is where policy, politics, and human livelihoods meet, often invisibly. If you want to follow what actually keeps the country running through this shutdown, subscribe. I'll track the decisions in agencies, the effects on communities, and the legal twists that decide who keeps working and who doesn't.